This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. Brought to you by the Fort Hall School of Government, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 25th of September 2020, and I am 2J.
I'm Tom.
And I am GK. In case you missed the headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, Maraga, MPs turn against speakers. In the Standard, UHURU call that shattered Ruto's plans. And in the Star, Akinyi's woes, 60 million shillings at stake, vehicles seized. So this week, we've been amidst a sort of constitutional crisis of sorts. A bombshell was dropped on Monday by the Chief Justice Maraga, and the whole country went into crisis mode, trying to figure out what this constitutional crisis, if any, would portend. So Maraga made this advisory on the basis of 6 petitions, and here he outlined how, despite 4 court orders, Parliament had failed to repeatedly enact the 2/3 gender rule. And this legislation had a mandatory period that it should be enacted within those 5 years, and it just never happened. So the Fort Hall School of Government had already predicted this as of last year. And we asked this week, what happens next? We discussed various scenarios where the president could buy time by ignoring the advisory notice. We looked at the postal rule where we said once it's put out there and you've received it, you must act on it. But we said, what are the ways around this? We said that he could delay through, the gazettement scenario. We said that, the speaker is supposed to give notice to the MPs. They could find a way to delay this once again. But this is stalling mechanisms. He would have to deal with this dissolution issue eventually.
Yes.
And then we asked ourselves, if the next parliament, should it come in, fails to also enact a 2/3 gender rule, does that mean we dissolve again? And is this going to be one of those issues that keeps circling? And then we asked ourselves, what does a general election actually mean? Is it everyone from the president to the governors to MCAs? Would it just be the members of parliament? Would we be dismantling a whole system of government? And on Tuesday, we looked at cui bono. We asked ourselves, who would be the beneficiary of Parliament dissolving? It was suggested by 2M that the Deputy President may be the Grandmaster with the timing of the scheme, because we have an extreme scenario in which the Deputy President uses the fact that the courts might interpret Uhuru Kenyatta's term as having been fully sort of served, or more than the halfway mark being served, thereby cutting Uhuru's term short and not allowing him to run should there be a snap election. That was an extreme scenario. Then we asked whether the judiciary had indeed usurped the power of Parliament and the people with this move. We also asked ourselves, would it be okay to, invoke the doctrine of civil necessity? We said, are Maraga's actions threatening civil national security? And then we said, everybody's trying to discuss what is the word shall and advise, and what do those things mean? And I put it to you, what is shall in your mother tongue? Let's first even just figure the basics of that out, and how interpreting that will influence any court orders moving forward. Or in the court system. Then on Wednesday, we continue the breakdown. And here we chronicled that there might have been a conspiracy since 2017 with the judiciary to do with how it deals with the executive. And we asked whether they were trying to precipitate a legal and political crisis. We asked whether the judiciary had indeed gone rogue. We also looked at, on Thursday, we looked at constitutional absurdity. And we were pointed to the case and the intrigues of an MCA called Kiplimo Muge, and there's a case there versus the IBC, where after complex sort of readings of the Constitution, the MCA election was delinked from other elections. And gave MCAs 8 more months. And this judgment was then set aside because of being impractical. Could we literally have different elections at different times for these different levels of in politics? And so we also saw how rigid and confused the Constitution can be in Kenya.
Such a mess.
So in the end, we tried to debunk the narrative that Uhuru Kenyatta has no options. But in this, we asked, did Maraga actually hand Uhuru Kenyatta a gift with this advisory? Can he play this to his advantage? Can he find opportunity in the crisis? And so my question to my panel today is, will Uhuru Kenyatta dissolve or not dissolve Parliament? Will he do what we least expect when it comes to this?
Uhuru Kenyatta will dissolve Parliament. Yes, Parliament will go home. But before I tell you why, allow me to give you a story.
Oh boy.
A doctor at Mathare Hospital wanted to know if his treatment on 100 mad patients had worked. So he drew a door in a closed room and waited to see the patient's reaction. Soon after, 99 patients led by a man called Harvey ran to the drawn door and tried to open it, to no avail. But the doctor noticed one mad patient called David Kenani, seated calmly, probably wondering why his friends were trying to open a door drawn on the wall. Immediately, the doctor knew that 1 out of the 100 patients was successfully cured. But out of curiosity, the doctor asked him why he did not follow the other 99 to the drawn door. And Kenani told them that they are mad. They don't know that I have the key. This is a tragedy of Maraga for you. He saw a drawn door in an asylum called the Constitution, and he thought he had the key. What's my point here? If Maraga was plotting a coup on UHURU, and he thought he had fixed UHURU by asking him to dissolve parliament, he was dead wrong. And we say this because what makes us think that UHURU won't dissolve parliament? What makes us think that dissolution will make UHURU weaker? Professor Mutahi Ngonyi always tells us that Uhuru Kenyatta is the least studied politician. Our hypothesis is he will do the unexpected and dissolve parliament. Question is, what will he sacrifice politically? Ruto? Maraga? Go figure.
Wow. I like this story, I really do. And I do tend to agree with you. I think that the president will dissolve parliament, and I think that he should dissolve parliament. And I think it kind of ties back to what GK told us earlier. And I want to add on, and I want to again abuse Kenyans in the way that I did on Tuesday, because this constitution is a mess. And I think that Kenyans, unfortunately, we have this very you know, we have this loud talking, you know, persona about us. We like to make noise, but we don't necessarily know what we're making noise about. And in regards to this constitution, we voted for it, right? We are only getting what we deserve. And I think that our constitution should not enforce such rigidity on its people, shouldn't enforce such rigidity on the courts, on the executive, on the legislature. And I think at the end of the day, we're getting what we ought to. And so the question is, in dissolving parliament, is there something that the president can do to rectify this messy situation? I don't know if we've reached that constitutional crisis yet, but I think it is staring us in the face. And I think the question is, what do we do to fix it? How do we make right what has been done wrong? I think that Maraga, in doing what he did on Monday, knows that he's going to go out in a blaze of fire, right? And I think that's what he wanted. He wants to be left with a legacy that will make him seem like the CJ of all CJs. Good for him, you know? It may have been easier to give him the car, but good for him. Let him go home with the legacy that he wants. But this issue is not actually going to land on his plate. He's done this in the sense that I'm going to throw mud on the wall, knowing that somebody else is going to have to clean it up. So
not so wise, man.
Not so wise.
Can we afford an election, guys? Should there be, you know, the dissolution of government, of parliament? Does this mean we would go into a general election of all 6 levels? I mean, and can we afford that?
I mean, I think we can. Look,
elections are expensive.
Elections are expensive, but I mean, how much would one cost? What, 15 to 18 billion shillings? You have Jesus Christ, you have a 2.6 trillion shilling budget. What is 18 billion shillings for us? But the question I think we should also be asking is, would Parliament need to appropriate money for an election or a referendum to happen? Now, the talk out there is, yes, they will need to. But when you read the Constitution, and you go read the Constitution, they may not have to actually. Anyone who go into a supplementary budget, if at all it's been budgeted for, and you'd be able to access those monies. I mean, you would be able to access those monies and spend without parliamentary approval. That's what I'm saying.
So it is an option available to Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah, I think one interesting thing that we should probably bring up is the new advancements that happened between yesterday and today. Which is that there was a petition taken to the High Court questioning the advisory opinion that Maraga gave in and of itself, that he will he shall tell the president to dissolve parliament, and thereafter the president shall dissolve parliament.
Yeah.
And so as it stands, the High Court has put that advisory opinion, or what follows thereafter, on hold.
Yeah.
And they said that based on Article 165 of the Constitution, and they said that the High Court has the jurisdiction to hear any questions regarding the interpretation of the Constitution. So first thing, check. I think that's perfect. We should get interpretation on whether Maraga can do this at all. And they say that thereafter, 165.4, that any matter by the High Court that is found to be that of requiring legal interpretation or raising a substantial question shall be heard by an uneven panel of 3 assigned judges who are assigned by, of course, Maraga. So I don't know if we know how well this is going to go, but I think it does bring up the question, or rather the issue, how subjective is our court.
I'll also say this, if you have the system, what can you not do?
Of course, that's true, but I feel like at the end of the day, does the government, does the state, do they have the system, or do they have the judiciary in their pocket? Are they able to sway them to make the right decision for the country?
For the general will.
Yeah, for the general will of the people.
Will.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, this has brought up food for thought at this table in terms of, who is the custodian of the Constitution, who is protecting the Constitution and the general will of the people. And if the judiciary is seen to be going against this, then who checks them? And there's an issue here of judicial decisions sort of not working for the popular will or even the spirit of the moment. And I think that's something that needs to be rectified moving forward. If this particular crisis can lead us to a system of government that works in the betterment of everybody, I think that's, for me, what we should pivot to. Whether it costs us, that much money or not, I think it's a step in the right direction to use Maraga's advisory as a referendum opportunity.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So, wait.
Yeah.
Who is the custodian of the Constitution?
The military.
Oh, no.
The military. Okay. As a lawyer,
let me say why, because you haven't asked me why. Let me tell
I didn't ask you why. I just asked you the question.
Let me tell you, before you say I'm a lawyer, let me tell you why. You see, when Uhuru Kenyatta was being sworn in as president in 2013, he was given 2 things. The first thing he was given was a constitution, and he was given the constitution as his wife Margaret and deputy president, his wife Rachel, were there, and they took the oath, and then they were told, guys, sit down, step back, and now we're going to give you what we have. The sword. And he was given the sword by the military. The CDF there was Karangi. Now, what happened was this. There was what you call an instrumentalization of the shift of power. The colonel, who was ADC then, was standing behind Kibaki, saluted while Uhuru was up doing the sword thing, and he saluted the CDF and switched positions and went directly behind Uhuru Kenyatta and saluted the CDF. Now, that signified a transfer of power. Now, you cannot do that. Who else would have done it? The police? Absolutely not. Or Kanjo? Absolutely not. The people who did it were the military, and that signifies anything. If you're going to suspend the Constitution today, the guys who would do it are the military. And the reason why that happens is because they're the custodians.
Okay, wait.
If the mother law falls,
I want to go back to this. I want to go back to this fantastic story. I want to go back to this fantastic story you've just told us. You said that not that story. The story of when Uhuru Kenyatta was sworn in, as he's being given the sword by those people who hold the instruments of violence, right? That being the military. Who handed over the Constitution to him?
The Chief Justice.
There we go.
But that was the first act. That was the first act. No. You did not give me. I'm telling you.
I gave you all silence.
You did. Let me tell you.
2M, I gave you all silence.
The Chief Justice.
I think you just realized you got caught in a trap and now you don't know what to do.
Do you think the Chief Justice carries an AK behind his back?
Okay, that's not my point. My point is, in my opinion, the same question that GK just asked us. Who is a custodian of the Constitution?
The military.
Okay. I would believe that the custodian of the Constitution is both the President and the judiciary, specifically the Supreme Court. The President under Articles 130 to 132, because those outline the duties of the President, which is to uphold the Constitution and the rule of law. And the judiciary, which is to enforce those things, to give interpretation to those things.
You're making Maraga do cartwheels at home.
Very well, that's fine. You should have given him the card. Give him that card. But then... Secondly, if we look at the military, the reason that the military handed over a sword is because they hold those instruments of violence, those instruments of force. They hold all those mechanisms that would take the country to war or secure us if need be. And I think we go back to the first article of the Constitution, which starts with, all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya. If anything, we are the ultimate custodians of the Constitution.
The people.
Because it should reflect what we believe to be true and worthy. So if you were to ask me, who are the custodians of the Constitution? It starts, first of all, with the people of Kenya, who give that opportunity to do so to the president, who we elect, who then passes on that to the Supreme Court, ultimately with the CJ.
On that note, to end the week, a constitution is not a mere lawyer's document. It is a vehicle of life, and its spirit is always in the spirit of the age. The Constitution empowers the people as much as the people empower the Constitution.
Amen.
A constitution, no matter how well written and how well detailed, would have little meaning without the right people to implement it and to live by its values. So you guys as Kenyans, us as Kenyans, we have such a crucial role in the next few moments, critical moments. Do have a lovely weekend. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, but also find us on TV. We're on GoTV, Prime Free to Air, and Star Times.